Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Nurses Immunity Boost Challenge. I'm Dr. Charmaine Blake Woode, and my husband and I and a team of amazing guest presenters, speakers, and our team behind the scenes have partnered to bring you this challenge. In the year of 2020, we are honoring nurses. We're celebrating them because, after all, this year has been called the year of the nurse. We want to provide valuable information to help them as they serve their patients on the battlefield. They have been thrown literally on the front lines of this war we've been waging against COVID-19. We also want to empower them to safeguard their health and to take better care of themselves. And so this is the fourth night of our challenge. We've been having a wonderful time so far. Lots of great information has been shared. Last night, we heard from Dr. Shahan Stutz, who is an immunologist in Oklahoma, who shared with us ways that we can optimize our immune system. He mentioned exercising, maintaining a healthy weight, and also optimizing your vitamin D levels. So the challenge for last night, you were to decide which of those three things you were going to focus on initially. Of course, we want you to do all three, but sometimes it's about taking those baby steps. So you are going to decide, and I want you to help just share with the rest of our audience what items you are going to begin working on. Go ahead and put in the chat whether you are going to exercise, maintain your healthy weight, or whether you are going to optimize your vitamin D levels. Start by getting your vitamin D levels checked. So I want to see those in the chat. Let's see if I can see anyone. Go ahead and start putting the comments in the chat for me. All right, I guess they'll be coming. Okay, so if you are in our viewing audience and you are a nurse, I want you to put nurse in the comments. We want to recognize you, we want to honor you, we want to celebrate you, and we want to say thank you. So put nurse in the comments so we know who you are. And even though we're celebrating and targeting nurses over these 5 days, this information is for everyone. So tag your friends, share the video, call, text, invite all the nurses you know, and invite your family and friends to hear what's going to be presented this evening. The hashtags are Team Destiny Events, Immunity Boost, and Year of the Nurse. So let's practice. I want to see in the comments, Year of the Nurse, Team Destiny Events, and Immunity Boost. Go ahead and put those in the comments so we get used to those hashtags. And take a minute, if you haven't done so already, share the feed using the hashtags. So one of the things I love is I love giving away gifts. And over the last few nights, we've been giving away gifts. We've given away gift cards. We've given away some supplements to help boost your immune system. And last night, we gave away some oxygen sleep support. We know that sleep is important to help with general health and, of course, with boosting your immune system as well. Sleep is important. So those were the prizes that were available last night. I'm going to tell you who won those prizes a little bit later on in our program. But what's on the table tonight, we have self-care modules from the Running Nurse, who's one of our sponsors this evening. We've got self-care modules, so 2 individuals will win one of those self-care modules. We also have some oxygen immune boost that's up for grabs this evening. So remember, the way you get the prizes, you register, you invite guests, you share the live feed, and you engage with us. So you make sure you comment and like the comments on the feed. That's the way you win these incredible prizes. So if you're ready to get started, we've got a great presenter tonight, and I don't want to take up too much time with the preliminaries. But if you're ready to get started, go ahead and put "let's go" in the comments. And I'm going to be checking these comments. Let's go. Put "let's go" in the comments. All right. Okay. You guys are doing pretty good. I'm seeing those comments coming. So keep them coming. Keep them coming. Let us know that you're out there. All right. I see "let's go." So that lets me know that you're ready. And we're going to go ahead and let me introduce my good friend, Dr. Milton Brown. He's going to speak about COVID-19 therapeutics and the COVID-19 vaccines. Dr. Brown has an impressive bio. We don't have enough time to share all of that information with you, so I'm just going to give you the highlights. So Dr. Brown attended Oakwood University, where he received his undergraduate degree. He received his PhD in organic chemistry from UAB. Notably, he was the first African American to receive a PhD in organic chemistry from UAB. He went on to complete his his MD degree at the University of Virginia. He has been involved in drug development for over 20 years at UVA, Georgetown, and Inova Hospital. He currently serves as the professor of practice and director for drug discovery for rare diseases at George Mason University. He is currently working on COVID-19 therapeutics. That's one of the focuses of his lab. And so tonight, it's my pleasure to introduce to our viewing audience, Dr. Milton Brown. I know Milton as a man of integrity, know him as a family man. He enjoys spending time fishing and just spending time with, I remember, with his wife and 4 children. He's a deeply spiritual man. He's humble and he's very down to earth. So those are some of the things that I've always admired about Milton. You're going to hear as he speaks tonight that he has a wealth of information. God has blessed him with a wonderful gift, and we're going to enjoy hearing what he has to share. And I'm looking forward to learning a lot, Milton. So not to take up any more of your time, welcome, Dr. Brown. I should say Dr. Brown.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Woods. It's just an honor to be here this evening with you and Dwayne. You're my great friends. And, you know, I just want to thank you for raising the appreciation awareness for the nurses. To all the nurses that are listening tonight, we just thank you so much for what you do, who you are, how you've selflessly placed yourself in harm's way to protect our communities. Just want to say thank you. Just want to say we appreciate you. And we want to thank Dr. Woods for their providing this platform. And tonight, I just want to talk to you about the vaccine. I mean, it's the big bear in the room. It's here. And we want to talk about this vaccine in ways that I'm sure you've never heard. And I want to arm you with information to help you make decisions about your health care, because you're the frontline workers that will be placed, this vaccine will be placed in. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the vaccines. What is this mRNA? What does this mean? People are using a lot of big words, but I want to kind of explain it to you. The mRNA is a message. It's simply a message on how your body makes proteins. Okay, you can have human mRNA, you can have mRNA from cats, from dogs. The mRNA that they're going to inject into your arm is a viral mRNA. It comes from a virus, the COVID-19 virus. And the viral mRNA codes, or it makes a protein called a spike protein. Now, this spike protein is really important because it's the protein that COVID uses to jab the cell and to attack the cell so it can get inside of your lung cells. So the mRNA makes a viral spike protein, and then that viral spike protein is amplified and made various ways and is purified, and that viral mRNA, the viral mRNA, is injected into your arm. All right, once you inject the viral mRNA into your arm, your muscle cells see that mRNA and say, oh, wow, let's code a protein for it. So the muscle cell, your muscle cell, makes the virus spike protein from the mRNA. So I want you to understand, mRNA is not a protein. It's a nucleic acid. It's a nucleoside. It actually gets injected into your muscle cells. It codes for a protein called a spike protein. And then that protein is a viral protein. So your body sees it as something that shouldn't be there. And your cell puts it outside of the cell, waves it like a flag, and your body makes an immune response, an antibody immune response to that viral protein. Now, if your body sees this protein at any other time, let's say you come in contact with COVID-19, it infects your cells and it begins to make that viral protein is there, your body will respond to it and fight that protein. So that's called the immunity part. That's how the vaccine works. We make the viral protein that gives us a time to make a response to it, and then if we ever see it again, we can make antibody or immune response to the virus. So that's in a nutshell how this thing works. They're not injecting any proteins in you. They're only injecting viral mRNA, and that viral mRNA is injected into your arm, and your body makes the protein from that mRNA, and that protein then causes an immune response, which your body memorizes, and if it sees that protein ever again, like from a real infection, it'll be able to mount an immune response, hopefully. Now, I say all that to tell you the next part. How do vaccines get approved? Vaccines get approved and therapeutics get approved the same way. They go through 4 clinical phases: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Phase 1 is a phase that we typically do about 20 to 40 patients. It's a small number of patients, and we look for safety only. Is the vaccine safe? It's in a small number of patients. And so we have, on many occasions, a drug or a therapy has come through phase 1 and been noted as safe in a small number of people. And then when you go to the next studies, which are in larger people, it's found not to be safe. But it's a good screen. Phase 1 is for small safety. Then phase 2 is for efficacy. How does it work in a small number of patients? Usually we use 40 to 100. Then phase 3 is a large number of patients. Is it safe? And the question is it effective? And so we use typically more than 10,000 patients in this phase. And then phase 4 comes after phase 3. And phase 4 is a surveillance phase in which the product is being sold in the market. The product is being used in a large number of patients, and the FDA, if it has a good safety profile and a good efficacy profile, it will be approved as a new medical entity. So currently, the vaccine candidates that you see, and we'll talk tip of the two that are introduced here in the United States, from Pfizer, which is an mRNA vaccine candidate, and from Moderna, which is an mRNA vaccine candidate. You cannot be a vaccine until you're approved, and that is you have to go through phases 1 through 4. These two mRNA vaccines were given what is called emergency use authorization. That means the FDA will allow the emergency use of these medicines or these vaccines before they're approved in phase 4. So currently, these vaccines have come through phase 3. They have not completed the full clinical trials, so they are not FDA approved drugs or vaccines. They have been given emergency use authorization, and that's what was approved last week for the Pfizer mRNA vaccine. And then for this week, today, the Moderna was approved, and now you have now 2 vaccine candidates to be used. I want to say to you that this is a great American experiment. To my nurses, it's sensationalism to say that the Pfizer vaccine or the Moderna vaccine is a vaccine. It's a candidate, and it's sensationalism to tell you. And I want to be truthful with you tonight. When you see on the news that they say this vaccine is safe or effective, it's not quite true. If I could get the slides, if Dr. Woode could key up the first slide for me, please, that would be very great. So I just want you to understand that this is sensationalism when people say that the Pfizer vaccine actually is a vaccine, because it really truly is not approved as a vaccine. Now, while we're waiting for Dr. Woode to key up those slides, I want to ask the question to you, and I want you to do some homework your own self. The first question is: the Pfizer vaccine safe and effective? And if Dr. Woode could turn on the slides, that would help me greatly. So the question is the Pfizer vaccine safe and effective? And the question I have to tell you that you see that 90% effectiveness. You see that when people are, on the news and the media, they say that the vaccine is 90% effective. Yet they don't tell you the real important issue. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So if you could make it that's right. So they could a little bit bigger. That's right. Fantastic. Thank you. So the question is the vaccine safe? And so you hear on the news, you hear it says 90%, 95% effective. Now that's partially true, actually, and partially not true. And I'm gonna tell you why. In the next slide. The reason is partially true is because they found that the vaccine was 90% effective after 7 days after the second dose. So you have the first dose, 3 weeks later you're gonna get a second dose. And so the experience has the first dose, your arm are hurt, you'll get 2 to 4 days of some flu-like symptoms. And hopefully that's all, because we're just learning what happens. We are seeing, as reports today, multiple sites of people having allergic reaction. And we'll talk about that later. But what I want you to know is when people say this is 90% effective, they don't tell you the second part, that it's only 90% effective at 7 days after you get the last dose. They haven't looked at, we don't know the data. That's the point I want you to understand. This may not be effective 30 days or 60 days from the last dose. It may be 10% effective at 90 days or 120 days after the second dose. So I want you to really look at that. Go to the Pfizer site. You can take the website and you can actually look at it. It's on the slide before this, the actual data from the Pfizer website. But what I put here is actually what you're going to see. You're going to see it said it indicates a vaccine rate above 90% at 7 days after the second dose. So I want you to understand this is a problem, because after 7 days, and we now have data for 14 days, after 14 days, we don't know what will happen. Will you maintain any effectiveness? Will you see some toxicities occur that we don't know about? And we don't know. And so that's why I call this the Great American Experiment. It's because for the first time in our history, we're allowing something that we don't know the efficacy for past 7 days, now 14 days, and we don't know the safety of it after 14 days. So in the preliminary studies in small patients, it seemed to have some safety, but we don't know because these patients who were given the vaccine also had their masks. They weren't given COVID-19. They were given the vaccine. They were or a placebo. They were sent home, and in 7 days they unblinded the study and they said, okay, how many people contracted COVID and had to go into the hospital or was a serious offense? And they found that more people who didn't get the vaccine, it was like 11 people had some serious complications of COVID, versus the people who got the vaccine. Only 5 people got infected with COVID, and none of them had to go to the hospital. So they came up with the 95% effective. Now you may see another term. It says it was a 90% effective after 28 days past the first dose. So I want you to understand this is the same data. It's just worded differently. So if I give you the dose, I wait 3 weeks, which is 21 days. I give you a second dose, and then I wait 7 more days. That's 28 days. I unblind the study, and I say, oh, I see this as being 90% effective. It's still 7 days after the second dose or 28 days after the first dose. It's the same data. You can see that this could be troubling because we know that your antibodies potentially wax and wane after about 90 days. So the question that we ask, and I want the nurses to ask, do we have any data that shows that this vaccine candidate will be effective after 30 days? The answer, after 30 days after the second dose. The answer is no. Do we have information of whether this vaccine will be effective or safe after 60 days? The answer is no. After 90 days, the answer is no. After 180 days, we typically want to see a year. And in fact, why is that important? Because with the flu vaccine, which we get every year, I get all my vaccines. I'm skeptical of this vaccine because we just don't have the data past 14 days. But the question is, in this regard, is if we want to have a vaccine that protects us almost a year, because at least we were able to get the vaccine once, the 2 doses every year. There are data that suggests that that this may not be the case, and that we will potentially have to get this, if this vaccine has any efficacy, it may not last. And I'm going to tell you examples of why it may not last. Next slide. The reason why this mRNA vaccine may not give you sustained protection is that the mRNA, it makes one spike protein. China told us back in April that there were at least 30 strains of COVID, and those strains had mutants in the spike protein. So what does that mean? That means that this vaccine will, if it's effective and lasts more than 30 days or last a year. Hopefully it'll last a year. We don't know. But let's say if it does last a year, there'll be other strains that will pop up that will not be we will not be protected from this mRNA vaccine. Next slide, please. I put this here because it was interesting that in the Baltimore Ravens facility just 2 weeks ago, they found, this was December the 5th, they found at least 4 strains of COVID-19 in the Baltimore Ravens facility. What I'm trying to tell you is that the mRNA vaccine codes for one protein, but there are multiple mutants of that protein that exist, and this mRNA vaccine has not been shown to cross-protect against all of these different strains. Now, we knew there were some strains here in America. We knew there was a strain that came from Wuhan to the northwest to Washington, and then there was a strain that came from Wuhan to Europe and Europe to New York. And it seemed like the strain in New York was much more virulent, much more vicious than the strain that was out in Washington. So now we know, because China told us there was at least 30 back in April, that we have identified multiple strains in the US. I'm just showing you 4 that were identified in the Baltimore Ravens facility. There are at least 12,000 mutants. Not all of them are of the spike protein, but they're of different proteins in the virus COVID-19 itself. So I say all of that, next slide. I say all of that to say that today, Britain announced, they announced that there's a new mutant in Britain, a new COVID-19 virus that has a mutation in the spike protein that is more infectious and is spreading faster than the existing variants that we've seen. This is the problem for the vaccine, for our mRNA, for the Pfizer mRNA vaccine and for the Moderna vaccine, is that they code for one spike protein, and that spike protein is not the same spike protein that's in these other variants. Will you be protected? And the answer is, I don't think so. But the great American experiment will tell us, and we'll learn a lot about who will be protected and what variants this mRNA vaccine will protect you against. There are some issues that I know that I want to tell you. Next slide. I want to tell you something, tell the nurses something for you to remember. Vaccinations, the Pfizer vaccine, now we can say the Moderna vaccine, will not stop you, may stop you from getting multi-organ disease that kill you. This is the point, is that we hope that this vaccine, and we'll learn over the next year, will it actually be protective, because we don't know, but we want to know, will this vaccine keep people from getting the deadly form of COVID-19? You know, we can live with 7 to 10 days of feeling like the crud, nasal congestion, and headache, fever. We can live with that. We can't live with our kidneys and our lungs shutting down and our hearts getting inflamed. We can't live with that type of COVID-19. So the vaccine was made to keep you from getting the severe disease. The vaccine does not stop you from getting COVID-19. Even when you get the COVID-19 vaccine candidate, you can still get COVID infection. Vaccines do not stop you from giving COVID-19 to others. That means that when you get the COVID-19 infection, even though you got the vaccine, you're not going to get this, hopefully not going to get the severe form. That's hopeful. We don't know, but that's what the idea is. And then you will get the COVID-19 infection, and hopefully you will not get disease that kills you. But you can also pass COVID-19 to others. So because of that, because you can be infected, and also you can pass it to others, you will still have to continue to wear your mask. I want everyone to understand, my nurses and everyone listening, the vaccine will not cause us to take our mask off. Our mask will be on until we can eliminate the virus completely from our communities. And that will only occur if we get about 70% of or more of our communities protected, and it has to be sustained protection for more than a year. This vaccine candidate, the Pfizer vaccine candidate and the Moderna vaccine candidate, has only shown to have some activity for 7 to 14 days. That's what I want you to understand. It only has been shown, it has not been proven to be safe or effective past 14 days. And in fact, individuals have shown that their immunity drops off to the live virus after 90 days, which means I'm not so sure the vaccine will protect much more than that, if it protects. And so this experiment will happen. We're getting, people are getting in vaccinated, and we will learn how long this vaccine candidate will be protective. Will it be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, a year? We will know from this, from what we've from what we're studying. This is unfortunately the great American experiment. I want to say something in regards to side effects. Dr. Woode, you can take that down. Thank you so much for putting up those slides. I want to say something about side effects. So one of the issues that people, nurses, doctors, other people ask me about is in regards to side effects. Is that you can take the slides down, Dr. Woode. Thank you so much. The UK had told us that there are severe allergies that may come from this vaccine. They're about a month ahead of us. The United Kingdom is about a month ahead of us in starting the vaccine candidates for Pfizer. And I want to read to you what the UK regulator said. People with a history of significant allergies to medicine or food requiring an EpiPen should not get the vaccine. If you have severe allergies that require EpiPen, whether it's to food or medicine, if you have severe allergies, you should not take the Pfizer vaccine or the Moderna vaccine as well. Today, multiple states have reported allergic reactions. That means that people had anaphylaxis, they had an allergic response. It did not kill any of these individuals. They were able to control it with anti-inflammatories, antihistamines, and keep the allergic response under control. But today, multiple states are reporting that individuals that received the vaccine are having allergic reactions. That is not completely safe. So I want people to understand, even though that we say for 7 days we had complete safety, well, we're learning now that it's not complete safety. People are having allergic responses to this. Also, I want you to know that the literature has found, there's a study by MIT on the reactions on how African Americans react to this vaccine. And in fact, the MIT study reported that the COVID-19 vaccine may not be as effective in Blacks and Asians as other ethnic groups. And so I want the nurses to understand that we only have a vaccine candidate that's been shown to be active, and the activity was done in people who did not get subjected to COVID, but just got COVID through their communities, shows that it was that they could find 90% effectiveness, but only for 7 to 14 days so far. And so that doesn't mean it won't be effective after 14 days. It just means we don't have the data. And I want you to understand that very clearly, that the emergency use vaccination was for the Pfizer vaccine, emergency use authorization for the Pfizer vaccine and for the Moderna vaccine was based on 7 and 14 days of data. What happens at 30 days? We will find out. What will happen at 60 days? We will find out. What will happen at 90 days, 180 days? Maybe you have no protection after 180 days. We do not know, and this is a great American experiment. And I wanted to present that to you because it's true. And so whether you decide to take it or not, you'll be understanding that this is more of an experiment, that we're learning how people will respond. Will this vaccine have longevity? Will it be sustainable? Will it go against the science and protect us for a year? Or will it fail after about 6 months? We will know after this year. And so for the nurses who want to participate in the experimental trials, this is an experimental trial. That's beautiful. I mean, that's important. We do need people to participate, but there are also individuals who are not sure and don't want to be a part of the experiment. And I'm giving you the information for that. And then there are groups that we have to watch, because it's going to be very important that African Americans understand that for the same reason why we're 5 times more likely to get this disease, which is really based on processing this virus. We have a polymorphism in an enzyme that processes this virus. And so African Americans, Native Americans, Latinos, and another group, Italians, have a polymorphism. That means we have a different enzyme that acts differently, and we don't process the enzyme, the virus, and put it out on the outside of the cell for us to respond to it with an immune response. And it's that same processing that occurs for the protein made by the mRNA vaccine as well. And so we as African Americans have to be very careful in that regard. I want you to understand that when people say something is 90% safe and 90% effective, you ask them this question: at what day? 7 days, 14 days, 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, 10 months, or a year? The last thing that I want to tell you about is about therapeutics. I'm excited because we have therapeutics. I mean, different from vaccines, therapeutics would be something I could give you that would keep you from getting a serious COVID infection that will kill you, and you would just have an infection that would be like a common cold. You would have it for 7 to 10 days, and then you would be over it. That would be fabulous as well, and we could give that to patients who have already gotten the COVID-19, and keep them from being able to have a terrible, a life-threatening problem. Therapeutics will be the wave of the future, and there's several types. There are compounds that are drugs that inhibit viral entry. We call those compounds something like convalescent plasma. We have compounds, therapies that interact and inhibit viral replication, how the virus reproduces itself inside of the cell. That's remdesivir, the antiviral. We have compounds and therapies now that we're working on that will inhibit cytokine release. That's inflammatory molecules that cause you to have this massive immune response, and that's actually what kills you. It's not really the virus that actually kills you. It's the immune response the cytokine release, the cytokine storm, hypercytokinemia, all the same words that causes this massive release of inflammatory cytokines, which then cause your system to have a multi-organ attack and multi-organ shutdown. Those include the IL-6 inhibitors. We have immune suppression. That means just suppress the whole immune system, and that's steroid use or dexamethasone. And then there's a new group of targeted therapies that are being developed to boost your host immunity. That makes to make your host cell make your cells be able to respond and turn on the sprinkler system inside of your cell, so that your own cell can respond to the viral infection. And we call that these are some of the statins and the angiotensin 1 blockers like telmisartan. These are in trials for use to turn on the sprinkler system inside of the cell to keep to help the body boost its own host immunity. I've said a lot tonight, and I apologize for saying so many things, but I wanted you to understand about how the vaccine works. I wanted you to understand about what the regulatory process was, what the current vaccine candidates, what stage they're in, stage 3. I wanted you to understand that this is not a FDA approval, this is an emergency use authorization, and that this is a great American experiment. We do not know past 14 days how these vaccines, the vaccines from Pfizer or Moderna, how they affect us, either efficacy on the virus, how do they affect the virus, and are they safe? And so I wanted you to understand the side effect profile, and I wanted you to understand that in Europe, in the UK, they're ahead of us, and so they're telling us now some of the problems that we see. I wanted African Americans and those who are in minority groups to understand that there are studies that we're looking closely. Does this vaccine, will it be as effective for us as it is for others? And then finally, the age of a therapeutics for COVID-19 is upon us. Hopefully next year we will get compounds in the clinic that will stop either viral entry, viral replication, cytokine release, immune suppression, or boost host immunity. I really want to say thank you to our nurses. We appreciate you. We're giving you this information so that you can make wise choices about your health care, about this vaccine, and about taking this vaccine or not taking this vaccine early on. I know that some hospitals at the present had thought about mandating. Currently, the hospitals up here where I am are not mandating because they don't know if it's effective or not, or if it's safe or not past the 14 days. And so we'll see in this great American experiment, and whether you participate or not, we all look forward to getting rid of COVID-19. Things that you must remember: vaccinations may stop you getting from the severe disease. They may or may not. We don't know yet. Vaccinations will not stop you from getting COVID-19. You still can get infected. Vaccinations will not stop you from giving COVID-19 to others if you are infected. You must continue to wear your mask at work and at home around people who are not, who come to your home, who are not your family members. Vaccinations will not be, may not give you immunity past 3 months. We'll notice in the next several months whether it's possible to get protection past 3 months. And then vaccination candidates right now have only been shown to be effective after 14 days. Thank you so much. God bless you, and have a good evening. I guess there's time for questions. And if so, I would like to answer all the questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. That was a lot of great information. You were very thorough in your presentation. You actually covered some of the questions that I saw in the feed. One of them was relating to the mandating of the vaccine. And you covered that. Of course, every state or jurisdiction is going to have their own policy, but you shared, what they were doing in your area. So there was a question about that.
Yeah, I have another thing to add to that, Dr. Woods, that if your hospital or your healthcare facility mandates you to take the COVID-19 experimental vaccine, because this is experimental, it's not approved. If they require, and I don't think that people will do that in the first round because we don't know if it's safe and effective. They say safe and effective, but that's for 14 days. But if we do get to a point where we have confidence that this vaccine will protect and is safe, if you are mandated, there are two things that you can possibly do. One, you have to show that this is against your religious beliefs, and it has to be real religious belief. You cannot have taken other vaccines and then say, no, now I don't want to take this one. That won't work. But that's one petition that you can use. The second, if you are injured by taking this vaccine, you get side effects, you get allergic responses or other types of illnesses, you can take workman's compensation. So I want people to be very aware. Hospitals, for example, can mandate you to take the flu vaccine. I know where I am, the flu vaccine is mandated. In many cases, they don't say they'll fire you, but they'll say, well, we won't allow you to see patients or come in contact with patients, and that means you don't get paid. So even though they didn't fire you, not having your income is like, to me, it would be like firing me. And so we took our flu vaccine when I was there at the hospital. And so the issue there is that if you got injured, then you could take workman's compensation.
Okay, great. That's good to know, because essentially, if I go take the vaccine on Monday, I'm essentially enrolling myself in this trial. And typically when there's a trial, there are forms and different things that you have to consent to. But when we're taking the vaccine outside of the, I guess, official trial, there's no such protection. So
that's right. And in fact, there's legislation that says that Moderna nor Pfizer can be held liable for any of the adverse events that you get from this experimental trial that we're getting ready to go through.
Okay. Good. So let's see, there's a question. Please tell us how important it is to keep a healthy immune system and how to boost our IgA naturally.
Let me tell you about that. Yeah, I have some concerns, and I'm gonna talk probably a little bit different from the immunology that you've heard. The spike protein comes in and it affects the cell, and it allows the virus to get inside of the cell. Once it's inside the cell, it actually locks the door. It won't allow other viruses in. That virus then replicates and makes millions copies inside the cell. Then the first thing the virus does, it turns off the sprinkler system. The sprinkler system is really the ACE2 protein that's important. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's a oxidative pathway that keeps the cell able to fight back inflammation. Well, the virus turns off that pathway. It just downregulates that pathway, It's not working anymore. And so once it does that, it starts a fire, and it actually causes inflammation, which is what we begin to see, this cytokine release, and we get all of this terrible reactive oxygen, which then ignites the inflammatory process, and then you get this burst of cytokines, which then goes in the system and really causes the struggle that we see with your kidneys shutting down. You get ARDS, you get cardiac inflammation, you get brain impact, you get all kinds of blood problems with clotting. And so the problem, I said all that to give you the one point. The problem is that the fire extinguisher in the cell is turned off. When you talk about boosting your immunity, that's important for health. That's just great for us anyway. Like every day, we should be working towards boosting our immunity. With this virus, the problem is even if you boosted your immunity, the problem is that the inside of the cell, the inflammatory pathways that the fire extinguisher is turned off. So even though you're boosting your immunity, it doesn't happen for the inside of the cell. In the outside of the cell, whether you increase IgA, IgE, IgM, whichever one you choose to increase, it will have very little effect on the inflammatory pathways inside of the cell, which in fact, the anti-inflammatory part of it is turned off. And so because you don't have a functioning cell, healthy cell, those kind of things really are problematic and not and we've shown with high dose vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin D, it just doesn't turn around these kinds of cells once they get infected, and it turns off the internal fire extinguisher. So that's one of the points that we're trying to work on. Scientists are trying, and drug developers and companies are trying to turn on the sprinkler system inside of the cell again. So now when you make your immune system boosted, it works. But with the fire extinguisher turned off inside the cell, unfortunately for people who get infected, these other types of things just don't work, and unfortunately that's what's happening.
Okay, so it sounds like you're saying once you're infected, then the strength of your immune system can't really fight the virus. Is that right?
Yeah, for most people it does, but for some people who have now their internal the internal pathways are turned off, the sprinkler system is turned off, those people become very susceptible to cytokine storm, release of cytokines, and then this kind of more aggressive tissue inflammation that causes the multi-organ disease that we see. And so what I'm saying to those boosting your immune system or keeping your immune system, that's important for just health every day. So we should be doing that. We should be getting a healthy immune system and continuing to try. But in this infection, that's different, because this infection, those cells don't really, it's hard for them to respond because they have been manipulated in a way that causes them not to be able to respond. And that's the problem. We've tried high dose vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E. Those things didn't work. And so the reason is because those mechanism is turned off in the cell. So I mean, I'm saying two separate things. One thing is it's good to have a good immune system. Do all the things you can to keep your immune system in high order, revved up. But in regards to this virus, we're dealing with a different beast.
Okay, okay. So I've got a follow-up question. So last night, we learned about whether it was a single study or series of studies, where vitamin D was used to treat as part of the regimen in treating patients who have been infected with the COVID-19 virus. And those that had low levels of vitamin D, there was higher mortality in that group of patients. Is this some of what you're saying? How does that relate to what you're sharing tonight?
Yeah, so that's an inherent level of vitamin D, and people who have low vitamin D, especially African Americans, we tend to get all kind of diseases. Men who have low levels of vitamin D typically get prostate cancer. You know, there are a lot of things that go along with low vitamin D levels, and raising your vitamin D levels to an appropriate level is really important. Many people take the once a week vitamin D super pill that, you know, gives them like 30,000 IUs, which tries to get your vitamin D up past 15,000. So you can take them, and there's a small studies that seem to show that vitamin D, people with higher vitamin D levels did better. But the problem is, once you get this virus, supplemental vitamin D it has not really done a whole lot with these patients. And so, you know, in small trials, you may see a signal, but in reality, when you look at large patient studies and trying to give them vitamin D supplementation, once they've gotten this virus, hasn't really panned out that well. But I want you to understand what was said before, that having low vitamin D, you need to try to get it up, because that will help you. If you have high levels of vitamin D and you experience this virus, it may give you some benefit. But once you get this infection, because of the way it works, vitamin D supplementation hasn't been very effective.
Okay, so once you get the infection, it's too late then to try and do anything to boost your immune system, essentially, is what you're saying.
The internal system, you know, the external system, you can definitely boost that, but the internal pathway,
okay,
it is really hard, and that we're trying to turn on the protein that's important. Is the same protein that the virus attacks. It's called ACE2, ACE2, angiotensin converting enzyme 2, number 2. That one is the protein that gets downregulated by the virus. And that protein is so important in keeping us, that if you downregulate that protein, then all of a sudden you get hypertension. That's why you see a lot of patients who have COVID have high blood pressure, because ACE2 is now down. ACE2 is antioxidative, so it can reduce the ROS, which is the trigger for the cytokine storm. ACE2 protein is important for the other parts of the what we call the antioxidant response element, which allows your body to respond when there's high insalts of reactive oxygen. It can make antioxidants that will bring that down so that you don't get this cytokine release. But that system is really impaired because the sprinkler system, ACE2, ACE2, is downregulated. And I hope I explained a really complicated physiology pathway.
Okay, so we've got a couple more questions I want to get to. I think we need a part 2, Dr. Brown.
I love anything for my friends, the Woods, who are just, I mean, we need more doctors in our community who care about our nurses and care about our community. So I love to do another one with you.
Okay. So someone asked, can you speak to the second dose requirement and how it impacts efficacy past the 14 days?
Yeah, so the second dose The second dose is required as any booster shot would be required. And so, in many vaccines, you have to get a second shot in order for you to boost your response. In regards to the 14 days, I'm just citing the Pfizer data. They gave the first shot, then they waited 21 days. They gave the second shot, and then after 7 days, they unblinded the study and said, okay, how many people got COVID-19 and how many people had severe COVID-19 who got the vaccine, and how many, and the same for those who didn't get the vaccine. They're not telling you about that the 90% effectiveness was only for 14 days. So those people who were in that study that for 14 days, they had the second booster shot. We don't know. We're going to learn about, will this protect people longer than 14 days? I suspect it will. I hope it will. But I'm not sure it'll go past 90 days. I'm pretty sure that it won't go past 90 days. But I hope that it goes, past 14 days. I'm pretty sure it will. But that's the 90% effectiveness at 14 days. Those people got the second vaccine.
Okay. All right. So what I'm hearing you say is we really don't know how long we're protected once we take the vaccine.
Yeah, if we're protected at all, because those patients never got challenged with COVID-19. They didn't get the vaccine and then give them COVID like we do with the flu. We give a flu vaccine, you put people in a hotel for 10 days, you give them, some get the vaccine, some don't. Everybody gets the flu, and then we see what happens. But with COVID, because it kills people, we can't really do that. And so they have to look at how severe in the people who get the vaccine, because they're still wearing their mask. The mask is going to have an effect on whether you get COVID-19. And then people who didn't get the vaccine, they're wearing their mask. And so the only really effectiveness is based on how many patients from each group have to go into the hospital or have a severe case of COVID-19. And that's what they're really looking at. I mean, it doesn't stop you from getting COVID-19. Mm-hmm. I want people to understand that vaccination, you will still get COVID-19 infection. And then once you get it, you can still give it to others. So that's why your mask is required, even though you get the vaccine.
Okay. All right. So we're going to just ask one more question as we wrap up. And because we know that a lot of people who are infected with COVID have emboli, the question is, please tell us why even when some patients' blood is thin, they can still have an embolism.
Yeah, we don't know how it affects, the virus affects the complement system. We just, we took away this word. It was called novel coronavirus when it first came out, right? Mm-hmm. Remember that we called it novel coronavirus. Then we went to COVID-19. We just dropped novel. Then we got, some people just say C19. I mean, novel means we've never seen this before. So we're learning as we go along. We don't have any, other coronaviruses that have occurred are not the same as SARS-CoV-2, this one we have. We've had SARS-CoV, that was 2009, 2003, 2009, we had MERS, and now we're having this coronavirus, and there are hundreds of coronaviruses. But for this one, this is novel, and we've never seen it. We don't know why you're getting this cytokine release. We think it's because of reactive oxygen triggers, and how that affects blood clotting. Reactive oxygen can be an effective mediator of blood clotting, or it could be an effect on the complement system. But we're learning about it, and we don't know the answers to that right now. So that's a point of study, and we will hopefully find out why over the next years to come.
Okay, all right. So, Dr. Brown, we're going to stop with the questions there. Thank you so much once again. A thorough presentation. It certainly gave me a lot to think about. I hope the viewing audience, from the chat and the comments, I can see that it was helpful to them and that it gives them something to think about as well. As we draw our program to a close, we went over a little bit longer than we planned to this evening, but we felt that the information you were sharing was critical, that we needed to take the time to share this information. If I could just kind of summarize some of the things that you shared, because we've talked a lot. And you emphasize the point over and over, and I'm going to say it again, that even when you take the vaccine, it does not keep you from getting COVID-19 or spreading COVID-19. So that's got to be one of our takeaways. Okay. Yes. So I really want, and you drill down into that. So I really want the audience to come away understanding that, and that they still need to continue the personal protective measures, the public health measures, washing your hands, distancing, wearing a mask. Okay, so we still need to continue those measures. And then, of course, there's the question of how effective the vaccine truly is, and how long lasting or how long term is that efficacy. And that's the part where you're saying this is the great American experiment. And so for those who choose to get the vaccine, you want them to make an informed decision and understand exactly what it is they're signing up for when they take the vaccine, and have no preconceived ideas about what it is they're doing, whether it's mandated by their job or not. And the information you shared about, some safety nets, or I don't want to use the word excuses, but some reasons to decline the vaccine if it's mandatory. That's important information to have, because people may not be aware that based on religious beliefs, and these are having a history of religious opposition to taking the vaccine, then they can in essence opt out of taking the COVID vaccine if it's mandated by their employer. So lots of great information. You mentioned that for Blacks and people of color, including Asians, that there's a question of the efficacy. I'm wondering if that perhaps maybe because we weren't as well represented in the studies that have been done. I'm not sure. Just something that that I've wondered. And of course, you mentioned, we didn't talk about this as much, but the therapeutics that are on the horizon, and where, you're really hoping that we can make strides in developing effective therapies that really target those processes that go on inside the cells. Because it sounds like that's really where we need to be in interrupting those processes that occur inside the cells that are so destructive.
That's right.
Okay, all right. So I didn't misrepresent what you said.
No, very, very good summary. Excellent summary.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna say thank you, once again, and it's a lot of information, and I think we'll definitely need a part 2. So my regards to Sandy and the kids. Thank you so much.
Oh, blessings on you. I want people to also know that if you have allergies to food that require EpiPen, or to medicine that require EpiPen, the UK right now is recommending that do not take the Pfizer vaccine. So I want people to realize that.
Okay, yes, good point as well. Thank you, thank you. Okay, folk, wow, lots of great information. We're going overtime tonight. Hope you guys didn't have a busy Saturday night planned, but I think the time we spent here was well worth it. Let's talk about the winners of our awesome prizes. So last night we had the sleep support gummies, the oxygen sleep support gummies that were on the table for those who registered, shared our live feed, commented, and were otherwise engaged with us. And we have two winners. So those winners are Janice W. and we have Althea M. Now, you may recognize Althea M's name from last night because she won from the night before as well. And I'll tell you guys what I've noticed is we have people commenting, but you're not registered. So while we appreciate the comments and maybe the prizes don't matter to you, but I love giving gifts and I'd like to give it to more people. Don't want the same persons walking away with all of the gifts, but be sure to remember the criteria for winning the prizes. So if you haven't done so and you've commented a lot tonight, be sure you go and register so you'll be entered into the drawing for the prize tonight. So tonight we have some awesome giveaways. I'm especially proud of the nursing self-care module that the running nurse has provided for us to give as gifts. So 2 people will win that nursing self-care module. Also, we've got the oxygen immune boost. Now, we heard Dr. Brown, he said that once you are infected with COVID-19, it's late. It's too late then to start boosting your immune system. So we want to make sure that that's something you're doing ahead of time. That's one of the reasons we've created this challenge, just to share the information and provide some options for immune boosting. So we've got some more information about the oxygen immune boost. If we could have that video, please, that short video that will share the oxygen boost information.
Enjoy all the benefits of CBD packed into a sweet, chewy gummy. Each oxygen CBD gummy contains 15 milligrams of pure CBD extract and is only 10 calories. Perfect for your busy lifestyle. No need to measure a tincture or have water available for that capsule. It's a convenient way to support a healthy lifestyle. And for those seeking a restful night's sleep, try Oxygen CBD gummies with sleep support. Each gummy has 5 milligrams of melatonin, as well as 15 milligrams of pure CBD extract. Take 1 to 2 before bed to wake refreshed and ready for the day. Whether you're on the go or in for the night, Oxygen has the perfect CBD gummy to meet your needs, and with 5 delicious flavors to choose from, you can fulfill that sweet tooth craving too.
All right, so that was information about the oxygen sleep boost, and that was the prize that was awarded last night. We shared the information about the oxygen immune boost a couple nights ago, and so we may have to go back. If you want more information about the immune boost, may have to go back to the live presentation from a few nights ago to see that video. But just very quickly, I can share with you that the immune boost has ingredients that in and of themselves are known to help boost your immune system. And they've been packaged synergistically in a single capsule so that you have an additive benefit from all of those ingredients. Those ingredients are hemp-derived CBD isolate, there is zinc, there is tulsi, there is glutathione, and there is vitamin D. Now, we've heard a lot about vitamin D over last night and tonight, but those are the ingredients in the Oxygen Immune Boost, which someone will win tonight, and those winners will be announced tomorrow evening. To get even more information about the Oxygen Immune Boost, go to teamdestinyevents.com and click on Boost Your Immunity, and you'll get more information on the Oxygen Immune Boost. So tonight, we want to thank our sponsors once again, and the sponsors are The Running Nurse, and this is the self-care program that we've spoken about previously that's specifically designed for nurses who may be struggling with burnout. And there are several modules that you have access to and contact with the coach of that program to help you deal with nursing burnout. And we've seen that in this pandemic, with the extreme amounts of stress that nurses have been exposed to and that they've experienced during this time, that many of them have experienced burnout during this time. So a great offering for those of you who are in the nursing field, or if you know of a nurse, take a screenshot of that information and you can share it with the nurses that you love in your life. So we want to say thank you once again for showing up, for spending a little bit extra time with us tonight, but we felt that the information was so compelling that we wanted to take a little bit more time tonight so that you can get as much information as possible, once again, to empower you to make informed decisions about your health and your life. Coming up tomorrow night, as we wrap up our challenge, we have a panel of nurses who are going to share about their experiences with COVID-19. We've got one nurse who contracted COVID-19, a work exposure for her, and she'll share her experience with that and how she survived COVID-19. So I want you to be here tomorrow evening for that presentation. Some of the nurses will be sharing some of their immune boosting strategies and what they do for self-care, what they're doing to help keep themselves safe and healthy during this time. So once again, thank you all for coming tonight. Thanks for spending this time with us. We hope the information presented was helpful. It was helpful for me, and I hope it was helpful for you. So we'll see you tomorrow evening back here for our live presentation at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central. You all have a great evening. Good night, and we'll see you soon.
There has never been a more critical time for a product that can help boost your body's resistance to stress, toxins, bacteria, pollutants, poor diet, viruses, and other threats that compromise your body's immune system. A product that can revolutionize the way you build and maintain your body's defenses. Introducing Oxygen Immune Boost, a powerfully potent blend of life-enhancing ingredients that have been combined for the first time to deliver a synergistic explosion of wellness to protect and defend your immune system. We started with the highest quality hemp-derived CBD for its overall health and anti-inflammatory benefits. Then we added zinc, a mineral critical for immune function and recognized for its ability to fight bacteria and viruses. Next, we blended holy basil, also known as tulsi, the queen of herbs, renowned in Eastern medicine for its anti-inflammatory, neuroprotective, and antioxidant advantages. Then Oxygen Immune Boost was infused with S-acetyl-L-glutathione, acclaimed as the mother of all antioxidants and one of the most significant immune-boosting and bioavailable molecules ever discovered. And finally, vitamin D3 was added. Also known as the sunshine vitamin, this ingredient enhances the immune system as well as helps to maintain normal blood pressure levels, supports bone and muscle strength, and assists in the prevention of depression and anxiety. Individually, each of these active ingredients offer crucial health benefits, but combined, they are even more powerful and provide the ultimate defense. Oxygen Immune Boost is poised to change the health and wellness industry like nothing else before. For the first time, you can experience the benefits of all of these essential ingredients in a brilliantly formulated blend, and all in one capsule. Your immune system is your shield against the external forces that threaten your health every day. Be the first to take advantage of this new secret weapon in the fight. Be the first to protect and defend your body with Oxygen Immune.